When was the last time you saw someone and truly cared? If you only notice what fits your agenda, you're missing people completely. Jesus didn't live like that. He never rushed past people. He stopped for Zacchaeus. He saw the woman at the well, and he noticed what else everyone else missed. In today's episode, we explore how to slow down, push aside our agendas, and see people the way Jesus did by being fully present and genuinely caring about others. So welcome to today's podcast. I'm joined with a group of people who have amazing voices from all parts of our church that are just going to have a conversation and figure out how we can become more loving like Jesus and love the way that he did. And so first off, today the chapter is about mindfulness. And so we'll just have a couple questions, conversation, and just dig into what we see, how Jesus was mindful to others so that we could become more mindful of others as well. So first off, our agendas keep us from loving others. I think that could probably be a general truth for everybody. But what pushes us into this agenda-driven pace? What is it that kind of pushes you into that?
I like to think, my own comfort and like desires, like I think comfort's a big thing. Like I always want to be comfortable in what I always want to not be inconvenienced. I want to get what I want to get done, and anything that kind of stops me from that is kind of ultimately like, it instantly like strikes me the wrong way. Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to go out of my way to see somebody or go out of my way to do something that isn't going to be, isn't going to get me to my goal. It's just like that desire for comfort and that desire to get what I want, is kind of my own ultimate agenda of like selfishness. So that's just kind of like that desire to be comfortable.
Yeah, I am very structured. So if it's not in my calendar, I'm not doing it. And so I always tell people, if you don't see me write it down in my calendar, I won't be there, or I'm not going to call you at that time because it has to be in my calendar. So I'm very structured. So I'm doing something and then it's on to the next thing. And it's very easy to miss people, and start caring about people when you're that structured. And so I've been working on that.
How have you been working on that?
Well, I've actually tried to see people, and what I've decided is if I'm walking by and I say, "How are you?" and they say anything but fine. If they say, "Oh, I'm okay," then I rip back around and I'm like, "Just okay?" And I listen, and then I listen, "What's going on with you?" Instead of just waiting for the obligatory fine, I actually just make sure that they're okay and offer to pray. And that happened with me when I was swimming. I take water aerobics, and there was a man on the side of the wall of the pool, and he was just kind of standing there. And maybe he was doing exercise with his legs while we're all doing water aerobics and jumping up and down. And as I was leaving, I had to pass him, and I said, "Hey, how are you?" And I kept walking. Didn't even wait to see the answer. And he said, "Oh, I'm okay." And I stopped, and I'm like, "Okay, Mona, you're going to do this." And I turned around, even though I had something to do after swimming. I turned around, and I said, "What's going on with you?" And he talked to me, and he was an older gentleman, and he talked to me. He told me he is trying to do exercises so that he can walk again. He wants to stay out of a wheelchair. And I just said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "May I pray with you?" And he said, "I was hoping you'd say that." And it just was so, I just felt there's one of those God moments where, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be with him. And he was expecting me. It was really cool.
I like what you said about, like, you said, like, in your mind, like, "Mona, you're going to do this." Like, that's what I think in my mind, like, in those moments where I'm like, I'm going to do this. You kind of have to catch yourself in that moment. You're like, you want to keep walking, but you're like, "Come on, Andrew, you're going to do this." And you turn back around, you kind of got to, like, check yourself and check your mind, because it's not instantly what you think, but you got to check yourself. I like that. I thought that's cool.
Because I think it's so in our nature just to, like, kind of be on the path of least resistance. It's like, I've got my things to do. Life is rolling. I wake up, like, I'm hungry. I have a schedule. I have somewhere to be. I've got something I want to do today, even if it's just for fun. But it's like, the path of least resistance. I mean, even by nature, like that's how water flows. Like that's how a lot of things just exist in the world. But like we said about like, I have to take a second and take a thought and like, okay, Mona, we're gonna do this. Like choosing to not go down that easy, just kind of like falling into the routine or in the habit or in the nature of whatever it is. But it's like taking a breath, taking a moment, and then like actively choosing it. That's kind of what I liked about the mindful too, of like, it's easy to kind of just like go with the flow and let life kind of take you where it takes you, but like choosing to be active in it, is like another piece of like being mindful of like the action part of it as well.
It seems like you're all kind of talking about planning to be interruptible. Does that make sense? Is that a fair way of characterizing this? Because like I just know that like it's so easy to, like you said, just what's the next thing on your agenda, get it done, drive to wherever. And even just like here in Cincinnati, we're such a car city. Like it's so easy to not even engage with people. And so I feel like, I don't know, like Jesus probably had this like plan in place of knowing that he was going to get interrupted. Like it always happened, you know. Even there was like before he went to the Roman soldier's house to raise his daughter from the dead, like he got interrupted by someone reaching out to him and being healed, you know, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. And as he's going, you know, with Zacchaeus' story, you know, this little dude up in a tree, and he's intentionally going to him and invites himself over for dinner. And so kind of like, I guess the question would be like, how do you relate to Zacchaeus' story, but like if you were Zacchaeus, knowing that Jesus is basically like a first century celebrity, you know, everybody wants his attention, and he's coming to you to kind of interrupt your life and what's going on in your life as Zacchaeus. So how did you guys relate to that story, maybe growing up or even reading this chapter?
I kind of related to it because of my mornings are really structured. I mean, I get up, I grab my hearing aids, I pray, I look at my phone and make sure nothing happened overnight. And then I go to the bathroom, do everything in there, and then I grab my phone and my glasses, and I'm out the door. And I do get dressed sometime in between there.
Yeah, thank
but,
you.
Yeah, you're welcome, right? but when someone calls me in the morning, it throws everything off. And God has called me on several mornings recently where I had to stop and listen, and someone was calling to tell me that their husband has been diagnosed with cancer, and I had to sit and listen. And it throws me off, but I'm like, God is calling me. This is the Lord saying, you need to stop, sit down, and listen, and be present with a friend. You know, it's not more important to go play chair volleyball that I go play or to go to exercise class. It's more important to be there and be present with a friend. And that's hard because when I get off track, I forget things. And so I would leave and I'm like, oh, my glasses, I forgot my glasses because I'm off track. But you know what? I realize I'm always on track if God is presenting the opportunity for me to do something else and do something different.
That's really good. I know that just for me, like reading Zacchaeus' story, it's almost like it just shifts your mind to where it's like this is kind of the main thing of loving people, serving them, being connected to them. All the other stuff's going to get done eventually, you know, and deadlines honestly sometimes are just arbitrary even. You know, it's like, do I really need to get that done right now, like compared to tomorrow? Whereas like this person's hurting or I need to just celebrate with them, you know, and make sure that relationship's as strong as it can be. Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what I see Jesus doing a little bit, which is like super convicting because I don't do that. Like I don't see people who I'm relationally invested or connected in as the main thing. Like, that's the person that I've got to get in touch with today. That's the relationship I need to restore, or that's the person I need to serve. Compared to, like you said, I know what's my agenda is. I've got my routines, and I want to stay in those and get the checklist done. So that was just super convicting to me. It's like, yeah, I don't live like Jesus in that regard. So
Yeah, I think the other piece of the Zacchaeus story that it even posed a question in the book, like, how would you have felt like watching this moment go down? And I think, unfortunately, I think if I was like a viewer of this situation, because it's all type like Zacchaeus wasn't like a liked figure in the community, I think I would have been a little annoyed. I've been like, oh, like you're going to him? Like he's like, why does he get your attention? Like I can be kind of driven by like, I want to do the right thing and I want to like kind of do all the steps and have the right behaviors and being organized and having things, you know, to make myself feel like I'm doing things right. And so I think sometimes I can miss the moment of like, well, God actually just like wants to see each person, and it's not about like impressing God with what I'm doing right, because I think that can make you miss the moment. Like me having that attitude of reading the story, being like, oh, how come he gets the attention of Jesus? Is like, that's the whole point. Like I am missing out on seeing people the way Jesus sees them because I, you know, think that someone else might deserve it more than he does, you know, whatever it is. And so I think even within a Christian walk, like I think it's easy to kind of get bogged down by the doingness of Christianity, and I think kind of rejecting that intentionally and choosing to like see Jesus as like the person who saw people, kind of what we've been saying, like he's seeing them, he's not seeing their to-do list, but he's like, I choose you, and he just chooses everybody. Yeah.
And I think of how like each one of us is like Zacchaeus in that way. Like God saw everybody in the world and still looked at us individually and was like, I want you, you know, I want you to be with me, and I want you to go into this ministry. I want you to do this thing. And it's like, that's so crazy to me. Like what thing special did I have? Like what special thing did I have? What special trait? What special like that? Like I don't deserve any of this. Like why did he choose us out of all people? You know what I mean? Like, and I just think that's so cool. Like it makes us, it throws us into the shoes of Zacchaeus, and like God saw us and Jesus saw us and decided to ask of us and use us for his purpose and to save us. Like that's so cool. Like that is so awesome. Like it makes, you know, it makes me want to do that to other people and see the people that, you know, I don't think deserve things. I don't think are, I guess, worthy of things. Like it makes me want to go to them and see them like Jesus saw us, like for no particular reason, but to just see them and care for them. You know what I mean? Because that's how Jesus did it for us. And I think that's so cool. Just a cool way to think about it. Like there's nothing special that we could have done for Jesus to look at us, you know?
That makes me think like, you know, when growing up, you know, I'm like 37 now, there's just been a lot of funerals like in my family's like life, in my life. And well, it's like always measured by like how many people came to that funeral for like how impactful that person is that just passed away. And it just kind of, when you were talking about that made me think about that. Like how many people would come to my funeral because I accomplished all my agendas, you know, like, no, that's not, you know, maybe my manager, like, you know,
yeah, he
but
was
like,
really good at his to-do list.
right, you know, but like, I'm not doing the main thing. And, you know, with Zacchaeus, just even his shoes, like you were saying, like feeling, you know, stepping into his shoes, like he was up in that tree for a reason, and not just because he was short, but it was like he was like on the outskirts of society. Like people hated him. He was a tax collector. He was viewed as a traitor in that society. So have you guys ever felt that way of just being unseen, kind of pushed off by society or by close people? How did that make you feel? And then when someone did actually see you for who you are, how did that kind of change you?
I'm actually an introvert, but people don't think so because of the jobs that I've had, and I kind of enjoy talking in front of people and talking in general. But I'm actually an introvert, And so when I go to, part of my job was to go to the big events and then kind of work the room, network. I hated that. So that was just the worst. And so sometimes I just walk in and I'm like, okay, I got to talk to people. I'm horrible at small talk. Does not work well with me. But to have someone come to me and greet me at the door when I'm standing there at this big crowded event and walk me in is so comforting. It really is that. Then I feel like I've got one friend here. Okay, maybe I can talk to others and they come and introduce you. And I realize that that's not only important for me, that it's important for other people. So I try to do that for other people. If I'm somewhere and I see someone walking in that may not know people, it's important to just help them to get through and to meet people and to get more comfortable. Because feeling alone and on the outside of a group if you're new. I mean, I started playing chair volleyball, great game, after I retired, and I was scared to go in, and I walked in, and all these older people sitting in the chairs ready to play volleyball, and one man looked at me and he said, "You're in the right place. Come on, have a seat." Man, that meant the world to me. That he saw me and knew I was new and invited me to sit down and start playing.
There was a moment when you said that question, the first thing I thought of was over in the student ministry when I was pretty new. And I was just sitting alone. I'm an introvert too, so I get that feeling a lot. And I'm just like, I didn't think I wanted to really talk to anyone. I was kind of just doing my own thing, just sitting down at a table by myself, eating breakfast. And then Christian Jamerson came walking in and sat right across from me, and he's like, "What's up, dude? Is this chair taken?" And from that moment, I just became such close friends with him. And that is probably the moment that I got so deeply invested into the student ministry and loved it so much, is because that community that I was offered. Not that I went out and tried to get, but that someone came up and saw me and offered me like that opportunity to join the community of the student ministry. And like, that changed everything for me. Like, that community was amazing, and I loved it, and I didn't want to leave. So it's just like, it's great. And that stuff like that, when people come up and meet you at the door and meet you when you're kind of feeling a little lonely, a little by yourself, even when you don't think that you want someone else there, that just changes everything. Like, literally changes everything, especially at a church. You know what I mean? My
example is slightly different, because I would say I am an extrovert, but I married into a family where all of their first languages is Arabic. And so when we've traveled together to Lebanon, for example, everyone we're meeting there is fluent in Arabic. And I am slowly learning, but, there's only so much you can learn in a short amount of time. And so there'll be times when we're with a gathering of people, and even if I want to, I am limited in what I can say and how I can communicate, other than, a little thank you and a greeting and things here and there. And so when, now my husband, John, or my brother-in-law or my sister-in-law or anyone in the room takes the time to translate for me here's why they're all laughing, or like, oh, they want to know a question, I'll translate for you. So when they're taking the moment to see that, obviously I'm physically in the room, I'm watching everything that's going on, but I don't really know what's going on. But when they take the moment to remember, oh, there's another person, they have to do extra work in their brain to switch between languages and translate what I'm saying. But it allows me to connect with everybody in the room, not just with that person who's translating to me, but then I'm in on the joke, I'm in on the story, I know that, the context of it. And then also hopefully helps me pick up some Arabic words here and there too, which is fun. But feeling seen in those moments and feeling included and feeling like I'm not just, a fly on the wall, but they want me to feel included. And so taking the effort, I so appreciate it. And yeah, I think as you guys kind of both shared too, gives you a heightened sense of, even if I'm not, translating languages for somebody, but how can I make somebody feel seen, included, in on the joke, in on the moment, in on the story, in context, when even if we're all speaking the same language, people might still feel that way.
Yeah. What, how you kind of mentioned, your routine. I've mentioned our agendas. Other people have mentioned other things that have kept us kind of from being mindful. None of us have mentioned like technology, and how our phones kind of consume our lives now. What have you, after reading the chapter or just trying to be more like Jesus, what have you started to put in place to help you become more mindful? Just like small little daily habits. I don't think it's like a huge thing, but I think just small daily habits can help us kind of shift to become more like him, look more like him, and love like him.
I can tell you, after going through, I want to say was practicing the way, and what I decided was I need off social. So I have set the limits. Somebody taught me how to set the limits on it. I didn't know how, but it was for 15 minutes. If I'm on Facebook or something, and that's pretty much the only one I'm on, it's 15-minute limit. And it comes up and it'll tell you, time limit, and I can just click it. You can also add time, like if it's in the middle of a store, you can add 1 minute. But, I set time limits on social. And I also set that I pray before I touch my phone, which is really can be...
Wow. Yeah.
It's hard in the morning. Yeah. It's like, even if I'm just saying, Lord, thank you so much for waking me up today. This is your day, not mine. And that'll be it, and then I'm grabbing my phone, to see,
counts. Yeah,
to make sure family hasn't called me
right.
or, something like that. But just setting those little things and creating little habits and that it helps me be more present, when I'm with other people as well. I want to be present and hearing what people are saying and doing.
First thing that I think of, you asked that question, I after I read this chapter, the first thing I started thinking was like, in those moments where I'm rushing to get somewhere, to stop and just take a moment to be like a little still and silent, and like what do I need to do? If there's people around me that need my help, how can I help them? Real quick, just like before I try and just rush, like just slow down in the moment. And there's this one specific time, I was like, this is such a God moment. Right after reading this chapter, it was a Sunday and I had a soccer tournament. It was like a little soccer tournament. I had a game ended at 10 o'clock. And I was like, I need to get to church or I'm going to be late. I need to go quickly. And then there was this kid on the team. He's kind of newer. And for any guys that know soccer, he fouled someone in the box and gave him a penalty kick, which they scored on, which tied the game up. And so this dude was obviously like pretty down. Mm-hmm. And nobody, since he was kind of newer, nobody went up to him. Nobody said anything to him. And so coach ends up talking for a lot longer than I expected. So I'm even more late at this point. And so I'm like running, trying to get to my car. And I stop for a second and I think about this book, the chapter I just read. I'm like, this is a moment. Like I might be a few minutes late for church, but this is exactly what the book is talking about. I'm going to turn around. I turn around and sure enough, he's walking alone with his head down. And I'm like, I'm going to stop for a second. Maybe I'm late to church, but I'm going to go up and talk to him for a second. And I go up and I'm like, hey, dude, it's all good. Nobody's going to remember that in a week. Nobody even cares about what other people are doing. Everyone's too focused on themselves anyway. That's how sports are a lot of times. Like, hey, man, I've made the same mistakes. I played the same position. It all happens to everybody. You're all good. Keep your head up. And he was like, hey, thank you, man. Like, just thank you. And I was like, and I don't want to say that to like brag on myself because, dude, there's so many times where I will just be stuck on my own agenda. But there's just those moments where I'm like trying to rush out and get to somewhere or do something that I want to do. And I have to just be still for a moment and be like, okay, I'm going to take a moment for just 1 second. Just like God says, be still and know that I'm God. Just be still and see if there's anything that God wants me to do right now before I just bolt out. And I did end up getting to church like 5 minutes late, but it was incredibly worth it, I will say. It's very much worth it.
Hey, yes,
so,
amen to that.
That's awesome.
So I just wanted to share that because I was like, directly after I read this, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
No way that
That's
happened.
perfect.
Well, even the book talks about like being mindful means giving others special attention. And like you did that in that scene, of like giving him special attention because he needed that, which is so much, that's the main point, ministering to people, loving them the way that Jesus does. So, hey, if love means living like Jesus, every day is a new chance to choose love that notices, includes, forgives, speaks truth, and gives away more than it keeps. So this week, let's love like that by pausing at least once each day to really see someone you might overlook. And that's where love begins.